Welcome to this week's edition of Rugby Special, which comes to you from Philiphaugh today. It's Selkirk against Hawick in the Premiership. And before we join Dale Clancy and Graham Hogg in the commentary box, let's hear from the coaches. Earlier in the week, we spoke to Matty Douglas and Scott White.
You know, trying to put 80 minutes together this year has been really hard for us for some reason, one or another. I mean, you know, sometimes you get the bounce the ball, sometimes you don't. But, you know, to perform so well in the second half. I mean, we've scored 4 tries in the second half there against Musselburgh. Probably had an opportunity to score 6 or 7, you know, but inaccuracies. But, you know, as I said to the guys, look, I don't mind inaccuracies when we're playing at that tempo. But in the first half, you know, we didn't have any tempo in the game. You know, we're falling off the tackles and a lot of individual errors.
It must be very frustrating as a coach watching this on the sidelines.
Aye, and it's even harder watching it back sometimes. No, look, it is, and I mean, I think, you know, first and foremost, the players understand that as well, you know, and you know, I'm down there on a Tuesday and Thursdays to enjoy it as much as them, and you know, when you are losing and you know you're not performing as well as you know everybody can, but the good thing is, I'd be more worried if we weren't creating chances. You know, the thing is, we scored 27 points there on Saturday. We could have probably scored 37 or 47 points. And, you know, goal kicking was a wee bit to be desired for at the weekend as well. So, you know, there's 8, 10 points, 11 points that we've missed out on as well with the goal kicking. So, you know, it'd be more of a concern if we're getting nilled every week. The good thing is, we've got players in that circle to right the wrongs and score tries when we pull it together.
We have to be at the top of our game. You know, Scott will definitely have the boys firing for Saturday. There's no question about it. We can't take their defeat last week into any consideration, as they'll be wanting to get back on track, as they'll want to get as far up the table as they can. So we know the task at hand, and you know the players are looking forward to it. We've been quite successful in border derbies this season, even though you know the Selkirk one was by a point at the start of the season, and that was one that could have went either way. I think we were in control, and then 2 interception passes, and it kept them in the game. So we know that Selkirk will never die down. You know, they've got a dogged attitude, and they'll be very very hard to beat. But at the same time, you know, we were pretty confident in the way we're playing at the minute, and we have to be a top 4 side. You have to get to places like Philiphaugh and get a result. And no, we're really looking forward to it, and obviously looking for some big performances again by a lot of the squad.
What do Selkirk have to do to win this?
I think we've got to look after ball better than we have done the last few weeks. You know, individual performances have got to get better, but I think, you know, if we can make our one-on-one tackles and defend well and keep a hold of the ball, I believe there's tries in the game. You know, and it's just, I think, discipline in a border derby, depending on who the ref is key.
Welcome along to Philiphaugh for Selkirk versus Hawick in the Tenants Premiership on Borders Rugby TV. Selkirk will be looking for revenge as they suffered a narrow 23-22 defeat at Mansfield Park back in September. Selkirk go into this fixture with a lot of injury problems in the backs and the forwards, and the loss of Welsh. Joe and Callum Anderson and also Ross Nixon means Grant Sooty will fill in at 12 to cover the void in midfield. Pickles starts at fly half and McVicker comes in at scrum half. James Bett, who's perhaps been the most consistent performer for Selkirk, shrugs off a slight niggle to start at hooker again. The visiting team, Hawick, this afternoon, who go into this fixture third in the league, can field a relatively settled starting line-up, but the loss of Jay Linton to a very serious neck injury, and also in-form winger Morgan Tate sees Brown start at 8 and Gordon Woolley move out to the wing, which means Ben Evans starts at 13. Hawick will be looking to target the scrum as well, because they've got a very, very strong front row with Muir, Carrier and Gamble starting for the Greens. And just as play is underway here at Philiphaugh, with the snow still falling around us here, well, we're alright at the back of the stands, but I'm joined by Graham Hogg. It's an interesting fixture this going into this game. Selkirk have been pretty poor, Hawick have been really, really consistent over the last piece. It's one of those games that you think's a foregone conclusion, but you know better than anybody, border derbies aren't one on paper.
Yeah, it's even just looking at the border derby chat straight away, it's definitely a day for a border derby with the snow coming down. But as you say, different last few weeks for the two teams. Hawick obviously got a bit of form over the last few weeks, and Selkirk obviously a few injuries and a few sort of narrow defeats, so be an interesting spectacle. I'm not sure how much rugby will be played, but hopefully we'll be in for a good afternoon. Yeah, I think if you could pretty much draw a border derby, you'd probably have mud and snow or rain, and two very historic border teams as well, and Selkirk and Hawick are two of them, as James Bett, who's shrugged off an injury,
to start in this fixture, just throws into the line out, and he just goes a bit long there, and it's been girdled at the back there, but McVicker does well to just sweep up that ball. And now it's going to be the first opportunity for ball in hand for Bruce Riddle, the prop, who's going to, I would say, on paper is going to be in for a long afternoon. But Scott McClymont now looking to try and enforce himself on this green defence. And Pickles, who's starting at a more unfamiliar position at 10, looks to try and take on his opposite man, but he's wrapped up well there by Kirk Ford, who's another player who's been playing really well this season. He's had a lot of good form, and he's had a good steady long run at fly half as Hawick managed to just turn over the ball. And Gordon Woolley on the wing, he's been ragdolled there by Callum McNeil, and you can see the enthusiasm there from the winger as he manages just to turn over that ball. And Selkirk have certainly tried to flex their muscles in these opening couple of minutes and show them that they've not got that soft underbelly that perhaps on paper you would be expecting from this fixture.
Yeah, Selkirk done really well there. They went through the phases. They got 2 or 3 phases there and got to an edge. A little bit unlucky with the turnover, but you can see what it means to them, even just getting that penalty there. The boys, they're certainly up for it today.
Yeah, the weather's going to play a big part, and at the backs is probably, when we were playing in the backs, you've got a level of accuracy, but up front, even at the scrum time, keeping your feet, hitting your line outs, that's going to be really important for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke about earlier about how good the Hawick front row is, especially, and a little bit of experience there obviously with Sean Muir and Dan Gamble coming through, that they'll certainly be looking to get an edge there, but obviously, as I say, conditions underfoot, and they'll need to make sure that they're bang on the money every time they go into that opportunity.
And McClymont with a great carry from the line out there, just brought straight down. He was joined by Tom Brown and has marched him forward as Selkirk look to try and unpick this Hawick defence, but they'd be met with a good defence there from Sean Fairbairn, the big second row, just managing to clutch the attacking Selkirk player there as play goes over to the far side now, and it's now Tom Brown who's got the chance to try and barge his way over this line, but he's not able to on that occasion. And Luke Petty now has been asked to try and trundle it up, and Selkirk looking to try and retain this ball, but they look to try and put it through the foot. Pickles was looking to try and stab it behind the Hawick defence, but not able on that occasion, but perhaps they had the advantage coming as referee in the middle there, Michael Todd, signals that there is going to be a penalty, and Selkirk are doing well to try and retain the ball and try and keep the pressure on in these opening 3 minutes. Selkirk they've looked pretty assured. Yeah,
just exactly what we said about the phases in their own half a couple of minutes earlier. They just keep the ball really well there. Isn't too fancy a game plan the way they're trying to get into it, but I think Hawick will be pretty disappointed in terms of the way they've defended the last few phases. They've been pretty passive off of that and giving Selkirk a lot of time on the ball, so I think Matty Douglas and Manto Landers will be getting the message on pretty quickly that they need to start going after them a little bit more in defence.
It's certainly been a positive start for the Suitors, who are quite far down in the Tennent's Premiership, down in 7th. They've only got an accumulation of 20 points so far this season, but there's going to be an opportunity for Kieran Clark to get the first points of this afternoon. A very cold Philiphaugh, he slots it in between the sticks, 3 points, and that's probably just what Selkirk deserve from their start. And when you're going to visit the opposite 22s, especially on tight days like this, when it's going to be wet, it's going to be slippy, there's going to be mistakes, you need to pick up points when you get into the 22.
I think the weather's actually getting worse the more we speak about it, so yeah, taking those 3 points and those opportunities are vital to get a victory in a day like this.
And it's going to be play getting back underway with Bailey Donaldson just hoisting it high, trying to put a little bit of pressure on this Selkirk forward pack, who were retrieving the ball from the restart, as Bruce Riddle again just picks up his habitual position there just outside the ruck and trundles it up off the first phase, and now looking to try and get big Andrew Grant Sooty onto the ball. He's a utility player, very versatile. He was meant to be starting at 6 this afternoon, but an illness to Josh Welsh means he's slotting in at 12, which means Andrew McComb starts in the back row, but a mistake there in the open play there from Tom Brown means that Hawick are now in an attacking position on the 22, and Sean Muir looks to try and trundle up. He's been met well by Scott McClymont there, and he pushes him back, and it's gathered again there by Declan Lightfoot, who's starting at scrum half after the injury to Gareth Welsh. Means that he's not in the squad this afternoon. So the young electrician is flapping about with his arms over there, looking for the referee to maybe give him a little bit of an advantage, but it came back on a Hawick side, so they go again, and Sean Muir again trundles it up. Already got 4 tries this season. He'll be trying to sniff out another one this afternoon. And again, Hawick just patiently trying to go through the phases and trying to keep hold of the ball in these very slippy conditions as they go over on that far side. And now the captain Carrier looks to try and take it right into the heart of the Selkirk defence. He does well initially, and now Muir going round the corner. You can just start to see the corner flag coming into shot there, so not far to go for Hawick if they want to try and reply straight away in this tenants Premiership fixture. And etching closer and closer to the line, and Lightfoot has got some support over on the blind side there. There's been a little guddle there just short of the line, and it's going to come back on the Selkirk side, so panic stations averted and stood down for now. 11 minutes in here at Philiphaugh, and it's still Selkirk with a 3-0 advantage as they start to play out their 22. They've got a little bit of space over this far side as Kieran Clark finds McNeil, and he'll look to try and dance in field, and he does just that. He finds McClymont on the shoulder, but he is rattled by Sean Graham, who was covering the space well. And now Andrew Rennick looking to just charge his way into the Hawick defence, and if there's one Selkirk player who loves a Border derby, it's Andrew Rennick. But a mistake over on the far side from Bruce Riddle. And it's going quick here. McVicker looking to tap and go and take this Hawick defence unawares, but he's been wrapped up by Andrew Mitchell, who does well to jackal over the ball, and that's great work on the floor from Andrew Mitchell, the Hawick centre born and bred. He has been playing a little bit for the Southern Knights, but it shows you what he can bring back to this Hawick team, because he's very powerful, he's very quick, but he's very intelligent as well as a rugby player.
He is a very intelligent player. I've been lucky enough over the last couple of weeks since he's came back to do a little bit of work with Andrew, and his knowledge of the game's really impressed me in terms of there. He was obviously just that aspect of play there. He was real clever. I'm not convinced that the Selkirk pack will be too happy with their 9 just running away off that quick penalty there. He was pretty isolated, which gave Hawick the opportunity. Now we're back in the same sort of place just outside the 22 where we have been for a large portion of this game.
Yeah, especially when the conditions are as they are, you perhaps want to maybe slow the game down and play the game in the right areas, and McVicker maybe a little bit keen to stamp his authority on this game. He's obviously replaced Jack Hamilton at 9 in an area which Selkirk do have a little bit of depth in, but there's a space over on this far side. It's been bounced back in field from Chalmers, who's starting at outside centre this afternoon. And Pickles now finds a little gap, kicks it out in the full under a little bit of pressure, and perhaps that highlights to the signal that he's been playing at outside centre, where perhaps for those sort of kicks you'd get a little bit more time, and he's been asked a lot to play at fly half this afternoon in what is a very important fixture in both teams' rugby calendar, especially after the last fixture. It was really tight, 23 points to 22. Hawick won. That was back in September. And that's when Selkirk did suffer a fair few injuries in that fixture, and I think it was something they thought they were very unfortunate not to win, but good play from the line out, and Sean Fairbairn makes some good yards there. The line out not contested, them all not contested from Selkirk, as James Betts spurts out the line to try and nail the runner at the ankles, and now Sean Muir taped up ready to go, comes back into the action, back into the thick of it, and it now finds Ford looking to get a little gap trip, maybe try and get the arm round to offload, but unable to on this occasion as play goes up towards the 22. And Declan Lightfoot just does find his runner, and it's guddled about in the air in these slippy conditions, but it's came back on the Hawick side as you can start to see the sheen on the shorts with the mud as Matty Carrier rolls about. I'm sure there's a pig analogy in there, but I'm not going to use it. But Sean Muir now trundles the ball forward now, and Hawick looking to try and put the pressure on in terms of territory as well. They've been camped here for a long period of time and not been able to pick up any points so far, and I'm sure that will change throughout the duration of this game. But Hawick looking to try and maintain, get through the phases. There's a bit of pressure on Lightfoot at the base there, but Hawick do manage to retain the ball again, and Mitchell looking to just run an acute angle into a channel there which he thought was open, but has been well covered there by Selkirk, and it's slow and steady, but Hawick won't mind because they're in a very good attacking position here. And Selkirk trying to make a nuisance of them, so there's a penalty there. I'm not too sure what the referee is signalling what the penalty is for, but again that's scrappy from Hawick, and perhaps this is an area where Hawick have almost been pretty poor this season. They've got themselves into good areas, but they've perhaps not racked up the tries and the points that they really they've been afforded this season. And there's another example there, just giving a penalty in a really dangerous area when they were in the ascendancy, certainly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can see that Hawick, their actual build-up play there was really good. Obviously, it's pretty standard rugby in these conditions in terms of hitting the ball up, but there's little phases of play there that you can see, little bits of footwork even for the front row. Dan Gamble had a good bit of footwork there. Sean Muir to get over that gain line. Again, Andrew Mitchell running at that acute line that you speak of to go through. But as you say, just that little bit lack of concentration in that last little bit of play has let us down again, and has let us down a number of times this season.
The longer these things go on, the longer they've the more they play on your mind, and Hawick will be having to try and focus, but Selkirk will be happy. They've still got a 3-0 lead here, and good defence round the fringes by Riddle and Brown. And Lightfoot just hitting his man in the pocket, and Kirkfoe did notice there was a little gap there, but it's a scruffy kick which hasn't come off his foot perhaps the way he wanted, and it's just been gobbled up there by Selkirk. And a good run forward from Selkirk there, and it's again scrappy as it hits the ground. And it bobbles about, but Hawick have an opportunity here, and Lightfoot just was looking to try and get his players round, and it's been taken quickly. I think that was Fairbairn who got the ball away from the base of the ruck. Now Sean Muir looking to just go straight up the guts. He's knocked that one forward. By the looks of things, I think the referee, perhaps, and the assistants haven't notioned anything, so play goes on here, and Andrew Mitchell looking to try and keep his arms free to get the offload in. Lightfoot, he finds Fairbairn looking to throw the dummy and go, and again good defence by McDougall, who's rarely been mentioned in these opening exchanges, but he's having to do a lot of defensive work. So far he's not really been seen with the ball in hand. There's not been much of an opportunity for Selkirk to do that. They've been under a lot of pressure in these opening 16 minutes. And Lightfoot again, just a ball a bit too high, but has been swept up by Mitchell, who stabs through. He looks to try and make it a foot race, but it's just going to be over the line. The referee is going to signal for a goal line dropout, but perhaps when that ball goes behind, that's a good option there for Mitchell to stab it through, because you could almost just try too hard to ship it wide. He almost just thought, roll the dice, let's go for it and make it a foot race.
Yeah, I think on the back of that though, I think Selkirk will be really happy with their defensive set there. Basically Hawick run out of options there, so they had to try something different. Obviously they've been getting, there was a little bit of deja vu carries from Sean Muir, especially just trying to get up the guts and go through the Selkirk defence, but I think they'll be relatively happy with that set, as I say, because of the options were running out, and they've got this opportunity again to clear their lines.
Hawick are just 1 point behind Mar in the league in second place as they try and hunt down the home playoff, and Selkirk are, you say, only 12 points ahead of Aberdeen Grammar, but they look to be hitting a little bit of form now, so it's going to be an interesting battle at the top and the bottom. But from the scrum, it's Pickles again putting boot to ball, and it's getting stuck up there, but it's been well gathered by Bailey Donaldson at fullback, who twists out of the first contact. Good leg drive there from the youngster, equally as comfortable at fly half, but doing a good job there at fullback. And Hawick now having to try and press the reset button and look to try and go from deep, but again intense pressure from Selkirk, the home side, putting a lot of pressure on the home team there, inviting the penalty. They win the penalty, and they've got the opportunity here to try and stretch their lead.
Yeah, an interesting kick there from Ben Pickles. It was found a little bit of space in behind the Hawick winger there. It obviously put Bailey Donaldson under a bit of pressure. Bailey obviously looked after it well, but then just Hawick, just that little bit concentration again. I know we keep coming back to the same word. I'm going to need to think of another one, but obviously just giving an easy out there to Selkirk, and it was a stonewall penalty, wasn't it? Let's be honest, that there wasn't any dubiety about that one. It was an obvious one, and a relatively easy 3 points here.
27 minutes gone in this tie. Kieran Clark has got the chance to add 3 more points, and he doesn't. So Graham Hogg's words work on this occasion, because he's just missed that to the right hand side of the posts, and it stays Selkirk 3, Hawick 3, and that was a kickable penalty, but on this occasion he's just pulled it to the right hand side.
We spoke about it earlier, didn't we, in regards to the front row and foot in position and stuff like that. It's exactly the same for a place kicker there. It's especially in that area of the field where he is. When you're having a look now, I think there's been a few scrums in that area already, and it's obviously pretty difficult to kick from there, so he'll be disappointed with that. Obviously Keenan's played at a higher level than what's here just now, so he should be aiming to kick that, but again in these conditions nothing's easy.
No, it was similar in the Selkirk Aberdeen Grammar game. It was Callum Anderson and Scott Clark all missing, and there was an abundance of points. I think there was about 15 points left on the field from the boot, and that's maybe pointing towards the difficult conditions, because it was really wet that day as well. So obviously the Philiphaugh ground churning up, as you can see, as the boots all dig into the mud there. Ball's getting stuck up underneath Declan Lightfoot's feet, and it's been gathered by Ewan McDougall, but on this occasion it's going to come back for a knock on, and you can just see how easy it is for that ground to churn up, because it's been relentless snow before kick-off. It's been obviously after a week of rain and snow and wind. You can see just underneath the foot there of all the players how difficult it is, and thank God I wasn't a forward.
Yeah, thank God I'm not out there full stop today, Dale. I'm not going to lie to you. It's definitely not the weather for being a backs. But we spoke about earlier, we spent a lot of time speaking about the scrum there. Selkirk, again, will be happy with how they're playing here. The scrums that's held up reasonably well. They've got another sort of a midfield scrum here, so a good opportunity to attack both sides of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
McVicker to roll the ball in again, and it's a push on here for Hawick, and they look to try and start to flex their muscles, and you can see a hand in there from Selkirk, but they get the ball back on their side. It looks to go through the hands, but it's came at Hawick now. They've got the ball in hand, looking to offload it, and we can go through and we can see that Hawick have now managed to settle down. It looked like it was open there, and it looked like it could have been an opportunity to strike, but again Michael Todd has put the whistle to his lips. He's blown for a penalty, and it's going to be a penalty to Hawick, but it was probably the first time really that the game has opened up, and it looked like, you know, one of the teams had just been caught out of position because Selkirk looked to attack. They got disjointed, good defence from Hawick, and it was a real chance for Hawick to get the ball through the hands, but you can see where the conditions start coming into play.
Yeah, a real shift in momentum these last couple of minutes, isn't it? For that missed penalty to Hawick, again, just speaking about the scrums and how Selkirk will be reasonably happy, and then the Hawick front row put that one on them. So as I say, a real shift in momentum, and Hawick got an opportunity here just on the far side, just inside the Selkirk half, to see if we could actually keep some ball and see where we can go with this.
And Matty Carey will have to hit his target again. We've been talking him up quite a bit in terms of his accuracy, and he hits it again. And Hawick looked to set up the maul and get out a little bit of a nudge forward here at Philiphaugh. Again, 3 points to 0 down. They've got the inroads there. James Bett looking to try and make a nuisance of himself round the side. Andrew Rennick as well, trying to get his big mitts in there and try and dislodge the ball, but on that occasion he's not able to, as the maul comes to a halt. They get down, and Declan Lightfoot has to reset it. Kirk Ford out the back there, and Ronan McKean, his first real inroads in this game, and he gets the ball in hand, and he's looking to add to his 7 tries, and joint top try scorer for Hawick this season. He looks to try and make some more, but Selkirk look to put a bit of pressure at the breakdown. They get the turnover, and McVicker's looking for a little bit of space and goes over there to Chalmers. Chalmers looking to just spill the ball, but I think he's pushed that slightly forward to Bullman, who was almost coming into the game there.
A little bit of pressure again on Matty, who hopefully, yep, he's definitely hit his man there, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. But Selkirk defend that really well, in terms of just that little tactical play without going into the actual maul to stop them from using it.
And it's Smith now who's off the maul after some good work from the forwards. They managed to go around the side, and Lightfoot having to dig about in there. He's under a lot of pressure from Brown, who he's getting ragdoll and scragged about. Like, you can see the difference in weight that they've got there. As Brown just clutches at his shirt and just ragdolls him about the wet clutchy ground. But Lightfoot doing well to get the ball back as they look to go quick there, and I think that's perhaps Muir who's just put the boot to ball and tapped it quickly and went and tried to trundle it up, and Hawick looking to try and go round the corner again, but just squirts out of their hand. It was like a slippy bar of soap there, just going out of the clutches of the Hawick player as they look to try and sneak round the fringes of the ruck there. And Selkirk now from deep inside their own 22 find James Bett, who ducks the shoulder to try and evade the defender, but Selkirk get dicing with death here and having to play from their own 22, but it's good Hawick pressure, and Hawick looking to try and just snaffle this ball back and get it back on their side, but Selkirk doing well to keep the ball very secure in these tight channels, and they're going to have to do that and kick it downfield, and it's a very scrappy box kick as Donaldson has got Ford in field, and you can see McKean who's scampering back to try and make himself available, and he does just that, and he looks to try and get his first run in this game. He takes on Bullman and he goes inside as well, and it was Chalmers I think there was making the covering defence, the covering tackle, and Smith, safe pair of hands there from the big second row, who scampers through one challenge, and Lightfoot has got a little bit of a head of steam now as Carrier evades the first challenge. He looks to try and get the legs pumping, but not able on that occasion. And Muir now, they're making good inroads here. Hawick on this attack here, their first real time they've really looked to make a lot of inroads, and they've looked to have their tail up, but Lightfoot again acting and finds Muir, the ever present carrier of Muir there, and it came to a grinding halt, but Carrier is the man who's asked to just set up the platform. He's been met by Brown and Bett, who do well to stop a big burly hooker in Carrier, and like trying to slow it down, and perhaps a good option there from Graham, looking to just steady the ship and keep the ball secure and try and then work their way again and earn the right to attack wide in these wide channels. And Hawick looking to make some good slow and steady pace round the fringes. Slow and steady. And you can see how difficult it is as Lightfoot finds Ford. Ford has danced inside one. He's got a little bit of a go forward. He's over the line. And he's got the first score there for Hawick. And when you thought it was going to come from a forward, it's Kirk Ford who gets the score here. The opening try for Hawick. And in the balance of play, they've attacked a lot. They have been scrappy, but they perhaps earned some points. And it comes through the try of Ford, who perhaps was maybe one of the unlikely candidates to get the opening try.
Yeah, no, Hawick will be a lot more pleased with that passage of play. Obviously the difference there, a lot more accurate, but there's a lot more speed of movement with that. Obviously Hawick, the conditions are dictating how quick we can actually play, but just quicken that little bit up, getting it to obviously the winger there on the edge to get through, and then a great carry by Rory Smith to get over the gain line and then get in behind Selkirk to then give the opportunity so the forwards could come and play, and Kirk Ford using all these 10 stone to drive over there.
I think he's 10.5 with the conditions. I think he's taken on a bit of weight, but definitely I think the two carries from Smith and from Carrier that got really in behind the gain line got them the go forward. It set up the platform to get the ball a little bit wider, and Kirk Ford has got to dust themselves off and try and slot this kick to try and go down the tunnel in the lead at half time. And the right footed kicker, he's under a little bit of pressure from a running Selkirk line, but he sneaks inside that left upright. He gets the conversion. 7 points from Kirk Ford in reply from the 3 from Kieran Clark, which started the game after 5 minutes. Kieran Clark with the only points, and it was a very long 35 minutes at the back of the stand at Philiphaugh. I think we're grateful we're not out there on the very cold, wintry Border derby, but it's Selkirk 3, Hawick 7. It's really challenging conditions to play any sort of decent rugby in this, isn't it, Graham?
Yeah, it's verging on impossible, Dale, isn't it? It's obviously you're looking at the weather in terms of the rain, the sleet, the snow, but obviously underfoot as well. The pitch is holding up as well as it can, but it's certainly not an easy day to play rugby, and that's for sure.
No, we've both discussed how glad we are we're here and not out in the field as Kirk Ford just launches the ball downfield. And you'll see the skite off of the ground it gets, but it's into the hands of Kieran Clark now, who looks to try and use his dancing feet to try and evade the somewhat green defenders, but they're green with a shade that they're almost camouflaged now with the mud on the field. But Andrew Rennick now charging into contact, but 19.5 stone second row, certainly difficult to put down. And Pickles gets the ball through the hands and finds a runner on his shoulder. And Selkirk coming out in the second half with a lot of intent. And Pickles now spills the ball over to that far side and trying to get in on the action in the second half. There's a big push there as well from Fairbairn, just puts McClymont on the ground, but Selkirk managed to retain that ball, and they've got the ball through the hands again, just looking to try and set up these platforms and try and get some field position. And it's the captain McDougall having to just sweep up there. I think that's Grant Sooty now wearing number 22. He's obviously fancied a little change of jersey, and he's been one of the fortunate ones to get a nice clean one for the second half. But the ball has been popped into the air from the box kick, well gathered from Hawick in the backfield, and Donaldson has found a little gap over on that far side, but there's not enough room there for the ball to bounce infield and go into touch. It's going to be all the way back for a throw-in to the line out for Selkirk, and Selkirk have come out in the second half with a lot of intent.
Good first couple of minutes for Selkirk there, isn't it? A good settler after the break in terms of obviously just getting their hands on the ball and keeping that ball real well.
But again, Selkirk looking to just rumble it up through the captain McDougall, and it's now Chalmers who's twisting out of the first challenge. He looks to be gobbled up there by Fairbairn, but he's evaded the clutches on this occasion, as it's now found Cook, who's been quite quick to get his nice clean crisp white shirt covered in the mud here at Philiphaugh. And Bett now coming around the corner, he's met up by Muir, who know each other very well. A bit of experience with the Scotland Club 15, something that James Bett was in the training squad. Sean Muir obviously got a lot of game time with that, but Sean Muir won the battle there as he managed to march the hooker back the way in the challenge, as McVicker looks to try something different from the breakdown, looks to try and snipe round the fringes there. But McNeil now acting as scrum half, and it's Andrew Rennick who's asked to carry. And Tom Brown now, Girdling again. He's had a few occasions where the ball's not really went to hand, but fortunately for him, Hawick were encroaching on the offside line, and it's going to be a penalty to Selkirk. They'll be able to kick downfield, and it's something that Hawick did in the first half, a lot of ill-disciplined penalties, but it just opens the door slightly for Selkirk. They can get the opportunity to kick downfield and maybe strike from a line out. So this is going to be an interesting kick for Kieran Clark. He's had the 3 points for Selkirk so far this afternoon, and think that the points is the way to win this game from the boot. He kicks it, he certainly looks like he's got the distance there, and it goes up. An impressive kick there from Kieran Clark. He gets the 3 points, the opening points in this second half, takes it to Selkirk 6, Hawick 3.
That's definitely going to give Hawick a scare in terms of obviously their discipline, and they can't give those silly ones away in this second half.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a shot across the bows saying that they can't do this, but the ball came loose at the restart there. Ewan McDougall looked to try and trap it with his foot, but he's kicked it forward, and I think the Selkirk players noticed that they were offside, but they did really, really well to get back and snaffle on that, because I thought Ronan McKean was going to go in there for a score, because he did well to control that on the ground with his boot. But Selkirk do well to just snuff out that opportunity there, as it's going to be a restart from the goal line. They don't kick it that far, and it's went straight into the clutches of a big rampaging run there from Connor Sutherland, who just barges over his a willing Selkirk defender. Just got on the road of the man who did play for Edinburgh under-20s a few weeks ago. And Hawick now, from a restart, they're into a great attacking position, similar to what they did in the first half. They conceded points and then they were straight on the attack. They didn't get points on that occasion, but they look to try now as Rudy McLeod takes the ball into the guts of the Selkirk defence, and a few metres shy of this Selkirk line, trying to go slow. The ball squirted out of a Hawick hand, but it is going to be a penalty right in front of the Kinlan, and you do wonder what the option is going to be here. And also, is it Sean Muir's decision to see what they're going to do? They're going for the scrum. Is that something that you would have opted to do here, Graham?
It's a difficult decision. I fully back the boys to have a scrum here. Obviously our scrum has been, although the Selkirk scrums went reasonably well, Hawick has been on the up with their scrum here, so it's a great opportunity. There is obviously space either side of the field, with being right in between the sticks. My coach's hat says take the 3, but the rugby side of me, I'm quite keen for them to have a shot and have an opportunity to try and go for the 7.
And it's going to be a put into the scrum, so Declan Lightfoot will be tasked with rolling the ball in relatively straight to a Hawick foot, and they'll hope to try and put the hammer down and look to push this pack over the line, and it's been well controlled. They've got go forward there. Jack Hamilton snaffling round at the base, looking to try and make a menace of himself, but it came out short there. It looked like it was well gathered by the Rudy Brown at the tail of the Hawick scrum, as they look to try and set up the platform here. It's getting very, very congested there as we try and see who's got their hands on the ball. They look to barge over the line. It looks like they've got over. Michael Todd's down on his honkers trying to see if the ball's got down, but he's not able to judge if it's went down on that occasion. And I think that's perhaps been held up behind the post protector there, as we approach the hour mark almost in this game. And it's a scrum to Hawick in a very tasty attacking position for the Green Machine, as they look to get the hammer down again. They've got a go forward if they can keep the ball tight at the back of that scrum. Rudy Brown doing a lot of footballing work at the back, and I think it's going to be a penalty perhaps to Hawick, because the scrum was splintering. And you did say it was an interesting call from I think I would imagine it would be Sean Muir who would have made the call to go for the scrum. And the referee now is he's got in his mind it's a really, really positive Hawick scrum against a very passive Selkirk one.
Yeah, I think we all know what's coming next, don't we? They're going to go have a shot for it again. It's just really how many opportunities that the referee gives Selkirk here. I think Rudy Brown really struggled to control the ball at the back of that scrum, just for the pure fact that how fast Hawick were going forward. So it was obviously a really difficult skill at the best of times, never mind in these conditions. So he'll definitely be looking to have another shot of that here.
He did very well. It was, as you say, it was challenging because it was going forward at a rate of knots, but he did well to make sure that the ball just didn't spurt out and the advantage was away. And he's going to be tasked with doing the same thing again, because Declan Lightfoot has the ball in hand, ready to roll this into the scrum. Selkirk are very keen, very quick to get structured in their scrum, and they meet together, and the two new fresh faces of Graham and McLeod have certainly added a different dynamic to this scrum, and it's going forward again. Declan Lightfoot looking to try and protect his number 8 as well there. Rudy Brown gets the ball down, but it is going to be a penalty try to Hawick. It was a matter of time before that was coming, and it was almost a matter of time before the strength of the front row showed for Hawick, but they get their second score in this game. 14 points, 2-6 they now lead, and that was a very positive call from the captain there. I think it was perhaps Sean Muir who was the man taking the reins after Matty Carrier was withdrawn, and it's paid off as Jack Hamilton pushes into the scrum. I think Hawick maybe laying off them slightly there as they get the ball through the hands, and Grant Sooty gets the ball, finds Pickles on the wraparound, and it's Kieran Clark, the man who girdled the ball, is making amends for that. Cuts in field, he's cut through 1-2 challenges, back in field, a great run from the youngster, and he makes good yards there. And Selkirk, just after I say they seldom look like they've attacked, they just burst into life from their own 22, and now Hamilton just pirouetting, and Pickles has just put the ball in there. He's going to look to try and gather it. He knows he's got the free ball, but Michael Todd is going to bring that back for Hawick going off their feet as he signals sharply down into the ground there that Hawick went off their feet, and it's a platform here for perhaps, again, do they look for the boot of Kieran Clark to try and close the gap again to 5 points, or do they kick to the corner? It's going to be really interesting to see what they do here, and he'll be hoping to further that with adding another penalty here in what is a very clutchy spot in Philiphaugh, and it looks like it's successful. So Kieran Clark takes his tally for this afternoon to 9 points, and that is Selkirk's tally as well. So Selkirk currently 9 points to 14 behind Hawick, and Hamilton just gathers the ball from the line out, which is clawed back from Selkirk. The ball's gone to floor, and so is Grant Sooty as he takes a knee to get the ball, and Jack Hamilton just issuing orders round the side, and they've managed to spill the ball over on that far side. It's now McClymon's met with 2 green defenders there, and they're having to work hard on the floor to get that ball back as Hamilton just kicks the ball into the night sky, and it's just found in between the 2 Hawick players. It's bobbled out for a throw in to Hawick, and you can hear the rain and the sleet battering off the roof on top of us here, and it's I'm really glad I'm at the back of the stands. But 9 points to 14, this has certainly not been a classic. I would say my watch probably isn't as accurate as the referees, but mine says 40. It does for Michael Todd as well, and he blows the full-time whistle. And if you were wanting a classic game of rugby here at Philiphaugh, well, you were probably going to be disappointed. But it was a tetchy border derby. It was difficult at times for the players. All players that played in this game, were littered with mistakes, but it was full of endeavour from both sides. But it's 9 points from Selkirk. They all came from the boot of Kieran Clark, and it's 14 points for Hawick. It came from a try at the end of the first half for Kirk Ford, and it was converted by him as well, and then a team try perhaps up front. The forwards flexing their muscles, showing the depth and the special ability that they have in the forwards, getting that penalty try. So it finishes Selkirk 9, Hawick 14, and it's more a case of job done for Hawick, you would say here, Graham. Yeah, absolutely job done. I think it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the set piece won the game there for Hawick, their scrum, and obviously the depth that we spoke about before in that front row definitely got them over the line there. Again, not a classic, but some people enjoy watching this type of rugby, and obviously when the conditions are like this, the game still needs to be won, and points still need to be played for. So I think Hawick, as we mentioned before, it's just get in, get out. They'll be quite happy to be going back down the A7 with the 4 points in the bag, and on to Accies next week. Yes, definitely. I think it's a big marker for Hawick in terms of winning a border derby and the conditions that they're in, and especially in the event that it is as well today, because a lot riding on this game for both sides. But Hawick are the team that come out on top here. A good performance, and they can charge on in the league and try and really reel in now Mar in second position, try and secure that home semi-final. But it's them that win here on Borders Rugby TV. It's Selkirk 9, Hawick 14.
Look, it's frustrating. I think the biggest turning point was just their try before half time. We defended really, really well. There's a good energy from last week, and we spoke about that. It was an unacceptable performance up at Musselburgh, but I thought the boys brought a huge amount of energy today, and we fronted up really well. And I'm saying the most disappointing thing is we've conceded a try just before half time, and then Kirk slots a conversion from out wide as well, and we go in 7-3 down. Probably they had a fair amount of ball in the first half, but I thought defensively we were on the money today. But I mean, conditions are far from ideal, to be honest. Picking up a losing bonus point today is actually quite a positive, and you look at the results are in there. I think results have kind of went our way as well today. Musselburgh, Aberdeen, GHA, Jed, they're all on the receiving end of defeat today as well. So that's positive, but we've got to look inside first and foremost, and we've got Curry next week, which top of the league, only been beat once. It doesn't really get any easier, but we played them maybe 3 weeks ago, and it's 21-12. Same again, we didn't start well against Curry, so we've put a big emphasis on starting well. So I mean, we go up to Curry, we've got to be confident. I mean, far from ideal, but look, we're building it. I thought, boys have fronted up today. It's the first time the backline have probably actually played together today as well, with obviously Callum Anderson coming out, Ross Nixon missing, Josh Welsh all called off yesterday. So there's 3 boys that are starters every week. So fair play to the boys, they stuck in, and I mean, weather was the winner of the day, I think.
Discipline wasn't good enough today at all, but I felt the ref was quite hard against us a few times. But like you say, we were applying pressure quite a lot of times and then letting it go by an easy penalty or going off our feet or offside or something like that. So it's quite disappointing that way. But
strength of depth in the front row. Obviously you're the captain of the side, but there was a very important call in the game in terms of underneath the sticks. At the penalty you opted to really put the pressure on and go for the scrum as opposed to going for the 3 points.
Aye, definitely. I think it's something we work on quite hard, our set piece with the line-outs and the scrums, and when you've got boys coming off the bench that are just equally as good and just it doesn't affect the scrum at all, so you've got that depth for 80 minutes, so it makes big difference when you've got the confidence in your pack. And
then a difficult game next week. Edinburgh is down at Mansfield Park. It's going to be another one because Edinburgh is really trying to get in that fight for top 4. The big games just keep coming for Hawick.
This is it. We targeted these 3 just before Christmas, and we targeted 3 wins, so we'll be pushing on for that. And back at Mansfield as well, we seem to be a different team at home, so we'll push on for that. And I heard that they've got their name on the Bill McLaren Shield this Saturday, so they'll be bringing it to Mansfield next week, so there's another added wee target for us.
So a win for Hawick here at Philiphaugh. That will do their playoff chances the world of good. Next week, another border derby in National 1 for you as we go to Pointer Park. It'll be Kelso against Gala. Join us then.